These are the personal cars, and also more than 30 citizen contestants with their own cars equipped with automatic emergency collision avoidance function duel in the contest finals. And this morning we had a preliminary contest, and right now we have a top 5 right now compete in the finals. And also we invite Mr. Chen Tao, Dr. Chen Tao with me, and he's also in charge of the whole competition. So hello to all, and thank you for your attention on this iVista competition, and I can assure you that this is must be a very fantastic competition. So for this competition or contest, actually is the finals, as you know. And why we're doing these contacts, actually this is where it has a blind spot testing. So basically we simulate a kid when the kid suddenly across the road, how the cars, whether they can autonomously stop themselves. So talk about AEB, actually that's the autonomous emergency braking. So we talk about driverless car or self-driving car, or even the passenger car right now newly rolled off the line. Actually, a lot of car equipped with this AEB. Once again, this is a short form of autonomous emergency braking. So basically, we test that's the function to see whether the car actually have a strong reaction and a brake capability. So for the testing, actually, we tested at the 20, 30, and the 40 speed. Actually, just now we saw that the 40 melts. And we could see whether the car can brake by itself. Actually, we talk about this is the fastest speed. We don't know whether you can hear the sound. Actually, the car brake itself. And also we could see that track on the ground, right? But actually it didn't stop totally, so it hit the kid. So for the contacts, actually we test for 3 speeds, so that's the 20 miles, 30 and 40. So for each car, they will test in 3 different speeds. So that's 20 kilometers for 1 chance, and the 30 kilometers 2 attempts, and for the 40 meters also 2 attempts. But if the car actually failed for the 20 kilometer test, then that car does not need to proceed to the 30 and 40 kilometers. And we talk about that this is actually quite hard test, because we talk about that the A3 cars, you look at the blue cars, actually that's the a car to build that a blind spot. So for a moving vehicle, actually because of these blue cars, so a driver of that a moving vehicle actually could not really see the kids. So that's also the way to test the AEB function. And for this morning, actually, we test for adults. So that's the simulation of adults. But this afternoon, you could see that actually we test the simulation of kid. So right now there's 40 kilometers. So this is also the last attempt for this car, for this silver car. Well done. It stopped itself. So how we get the final result? So we get the average. So for the previous attempt, it's the 0. For this time, it stopped. Then we need to measure the distance. So we look at the volunteers and the staff on site. So for the staff, basically we're now moving the kits, the simulation. And we talk about the AEB, actually it's a quite high required testing environment. We talk about if the car cannot stop itself, then the collision point will be the center point of the car front. So we need to have a really accurate toolbox to help me to see whether not a heating point is the central point of the car. And also we have the CA belt, so the staff also control the belt for the simulation. And also would like to show some highlights from this morning preliminary contest. So this morning we divided into 2 teams. For each team that included 15 contestants. So they're for different purposes. One group for AEB. And for AEB, that's for the finals and the preliminary contest. And for the other test, that's for the self-parking. Actually, that's only one contest. And you could see this morning, actually, we test the simulation of adult. So the adult is taller, so it's easier for the car to identify the object. And also for the parking contact, I will also set up the quite complex environment and also some very typical parking environment. Talking about the level of difficulties, actually last year we also had a contest. Actually, the car users bring their own cars to us, but this year actually we upgrade the difficulty level of the test. And so far, judging from the result of this morning, we could see that actually the car performed quite well, and also our homemade cars actually they had a very good performance. For this afternoon, as you mentioned, this morning actually the simulation is adult, and for this afternoon the simulation was keyed. So you could see that the dummy for this afternoon, the small keys for this morning, you could see that this is the dummy we use for the morning. You could see this is a simulation of adult. So you could see that's quite taller and easier to be identified. When we talk about the cameras equipped on car and also the radar or the laser radar on cars equipped on the car. Actually, we talk about the size. We talk about the size of the dummy actually not really matter. What matter actually, we have that reflection area. It could not really see it because it's covered inside. So that's basically it's a simulation of the real person body. Because we talk about we have clothes, so we have that the skeleton, so we have that a certain a reflection on real human body. So this simulation or dummy actually is 100% the same copy of the reflection area as the real human body. So the metallic board inside this dummy actually is the same as the reflection area on a real human body. And actually the cost of this dummy actually is really expensive. It's around the 200,000 to 300,000 RMB. And also we talk about this dummy actually is also consumable. And this one is our self-developed one. So our team developed this. So we talk about our understanding of the context, our understanding of the traffic, the transport, the human body, actually all reflected on this dummy. So we look at the size of people actually with the tailor-made quite close to the Asian market. I believe our second contestant is ready. So let's stay in the safe place and to bring the full coverage of the second car. So from the starting point to the finishing line is around the 70 meters. So we talk about 20, 30, 40, that's different speed. So we talk about that we should have some buffer room, right? So we need to have a certain distance so for the car can start from 0 to reach that 20 kilometers. So for the whole environment actually is quite different and very difficult. And right now it's coming to us with 20 kilometers per hour speed. So we talk about actually we had a camera and a radar equipped on car. Then that the camera and radar should tell or predict that there may be a potential risk because the keys just suddenly cross the road. And that is also the test for AEB. So that's the barrier set to simulate the most difficult scene of handling daily automatic driving to test the reaction and the brake capability of cars. And also, of course, that a driver in the car, the only job for the driver is to control the speed to reach 20 kilometers per hour, 30 kilometers per hour, and 40 kilometers per hour. But the driver should not step on the brake because we test AEB. If the driver actually step on the brake, then the driver immediately disqualified for the test. For AEB, once again, is autonomous emergency brake. And we talk about that this is kind of the entry level of self-driving technologies. And for the car, if the car not reach 20 kilometers per hour, 30 kilometers per hour, 40 kilometers per hour as the required speed, or a driver step on the brake, then the driver got another chance. So once again, this afternoon we have 5 contestants enter the finals this afternoon. So in total, more than 30 contestants. That's the normal citizens with their own cars equipped with automatic emergency collision avoidance function. And this afternoon, we have these top 5 to compete for their AEB function, or the a reaction and a brake capability of cars. So we talk about this simulation environment actually is really challenging because a moving object, we talk about the moving dummy, is keys. So look at the keys, actually it's a size and smaller, so it's quite hard for the car to capture the object. Actually, for this kind of scenario, with the environment, actually, we also got from RDA iVista index, and we actually also have the simulation of driving in the evening to check whether the car can also perform its AEB function. And later on, maybe also we have the test at a crossroad to test the brake function. So for a simulation or for a test, the settings is more likely to be involved in the Chinese settings. So we talk about the settings. We would like to let it as close or as the real as possible. So you could see that a lot of the simulation actually is very close to the day-to-day environment on real road. The speed right now is still 20 kilometers per hour, and second attempt, still no. So the second car right now finished its contest because they failed to perform the 20 kilometers per hour speed competition. And this one actually also are self-developed. And this small board So we have the A sensor, and also we have the A belt you could see. So that's the also have the A self-protection function inside. So the car can cross this board. So you could see everything can be restored in a faster speed. And today is also a quite high temperature day. Our volunteers work really hard, sweating. So they're busy doing the preparation for the third car to start its competition. So the game is still on, and we talk about right now. This is in Chongqing Municipality, and today this is the autonomous vehicle ground challenge test is taking place here. And this is also a prelude to the Smart China Expo, or SCE 2021. And this morning, in the preliminary contest, there were around 30 seasoned contestants with their own cars equipped with automatic emergency collision avoidance function, duel in the contest. And this afternoon is the finals and the top 5. And now is competing for the championship. And we talk about a barrier is set to simulate the most difficult scene of handling daily automatic driving to test the reaction and the brake capability of cars. And when we talk about that's the AEB, or the autonomous emergency braking function. So for the testing cars, they need to compete in 3 speed, slow speed, that's around 20 kilometers per hour, and 30 kilometers per hour, and the fastest speed is 40 kilometers per hour. So for each car, they have around 5 attempts. And right now you are looking at, this is the highlights from this morning. This morning, the testing simulation is the dummy of adult. But for this afternoon, the very challenging part is the dummy, or the simulation actually is changing to a key. So that's very difficult for car to identify. So also could see that this morning that a dummy actually is around 180 centimeters, tall, and there's no car parking outside. But look at this afternoon for the dummy, changed to a small kit, and also there are parking cars at both sides of the moving cars. So the moving cars actually has that the blind spot. So we could tell it's really difficult. So because of that, the blind spot, and also a dummy of a small kid just suddenly crossing the street. So this very complex simulation environment is the perfect conditions to test the AEB function of the cars. And right now we're waiting for a third contestant to start the competition. That is the first attempt at 20 kilometers per hour speed. So the car successfully stopped. And also the staff also measure a distance. And also we should talk about that the car should not stop too close to the dummy or too far to the dummy, so that the perfect distance is around 0.5 meters to 1.5 meters. So less than 0.5 meters actually we believe is too close for certain issues first. So it's too close to the people crossing the road, so maybe it causes some a panic or the scared the people crossing this road. And it's also because of the too close of that distance means that maybe actually you have the really late reaction of braking. And also for people on board, people boarding the car also not really have the good experience of riding on the car. And also if you brake too far, then maybe it's like you overreact. So that is why the car stops very early. So the ideal distance is around 0.5 meters to 1.5 meters between the car and the moving dummy. And you collect the car actually also successfully passed the second test. See a 30 kilometers per hour speed. So the judge will first measure the distance. So we also look to see that whether the car actually is moving at the required distance, at the required speed. So we talk about the 20, 30, 40. So I believe a contestant for the second attempt at 30 kilometers per hour. The first attempt at this speed actually not reached the required speed, so that the car need to start all over again for a second attempt at 30 kilometers per hour. And also on board, we have another judge to look at whether a driver put his foot on the brake or not. We talk about this is a test on the capability of AEB, so that should be autonomously stopped by the car itself. So the result is valid. You could see the judge right now coming up to test to get the distance. So that's above 0.5 meters. So the ideal, we'll talk about the perfect distance, is at 1 meter. The higher speed the car moving, the more difficult the test is, because we talk about for the engineers who are developing the function of self-driving technology or AEB, actually this is kind of the task for them as well. We talk about self-driving or driverless system. Actually, for itself, already so difficult. We talk about this kind of testing. Actually, we would like to put it closer as possible to the day-to-day reality. So look at the size of the autonomy or the difficult level of environment. Actually, is quite close to the day-to-day scenario. And this is a second attempt at 30 kilometers per hour as well. We talk about for a 30 kilometers per hour speed, the drivers should success for 2 attempts. And we talk about 3 years ago for this kind of competition, all the equipment or facilities involved are imported. But right now we look at, because of the development of the self-driving technologies, right now you could say, and also a lot of the facilities involved actually are self-developed. And also for the cars in the competition, and look at the top 5 in the finals, you could see actually it's a half-half. And also for this morning, the parking competition. So the homemade cars actually performed really well. And also could tell that another reason for why the homemade cars performed well And in this AEB and also in the parking competition, it's because that the homemade cars may know more familiar with the simulation. In China, because like the home cars actually know more about the whole environment, the whole usage of the cars. And for this competition this time, the attempt at the speed of 40 kilometers per hour. So actually for 40, this default speed is so difficult for the car. For a real scenario, as long as the car can't stop by itself, actually this is very meaningful because we protect the people moving across the road. So if we think about that, how we can lower the impact or the damage to the pedestrian. So for the previous times, although the car stops at 40 kilometers per hour speed, and actually we consider that the first attempt actually hits the passenger or the moving dummy. But for the real scenario, as the car actually stopped and not really hit the pedestrian, we think actually this is a very good attempt, as long as we mitigate or minimize the damage to the kid, to the moving dummy. And this is the second attempt at 40 kilometers per hour speed. This is the farthest speed for the competition. So for the 20, 30, 40, that's required speed. So that for 30 kilometers per hour and 40 kilometers per hour, the driver or the contestant need to finish 2 rounds at this speed. So just now, a third contestant finished his round, and while we are waiting for the fourth car, we also invite Dr. Li Xiaohui, the chief judge. So this is a score sheet. And we could see we have a different index here. And the first is the different speed, 20 kilometers per hour, 30 kilometers per hour, and 40 kilometers per hour. And also it has the distance, right? And also for each contestant that they can actually have a replay, or they have another chance to start all over again if that there's a speed not reach the required speed. And for a driver, actually, they are not a researchers. They are just a car owner. So for themselves, they maybe unconsciously actually put their foot on the brake. So they have another try. So we talk about that's the 820, 30, 40, that's the 3 different speed. And for the 30 kilometers per hour and the 40 kilometers per hour, and they need to finish 2 rounds. So in total, they need to try 5 times. For me, judging from now, the cars, if they brake too early, and we talk about this overreaction. So that's they quite have that a conservative strategy. So for different car, you have a different car supplier. So some car actually it's quite a sensitive, have fast reaction, and some car they not really have that fast reaction. So for their AEB strategy is that the overreaction, so they would like to that the stop earlier. So you could say that some cars actually they brake itself quite far from the pedestrian. And right now we look at this is the 4th car. So I believe that for the first attempt, so the driver need to try again because the driver unconsciously step on the brake. So we talk about that a rule breaking operation. The drivers actually can start again, so the drivers can have one more try. So 2 things. First, if a car not reach the required speed, then that's identified as the violation operation. Another thing is a driver, because drivers, they are not researchers. So for themselves, actually, they're just like a normal drivers. For them, when we driving the car, when we see a moving object just immediately in front of your car, you unconsciously step on the brake, right? So that's also considered as the rule breaking operation. Then the drivers can get another try. but they only have the additional one try if they violate the required operation. Unfortunately, the fourth contestant also violated operation at her second try. So she finished her operation, her contest. So if we do a research purpose experiment, actually we have a robots or the dummy sitting on the driver's seat to control the speed. So it's very accurate. So we can control the speed in the more accurate manner. But we talk about why we not use a robot to test AEB, but why we have this kind of the competition. So the car owners actually bring their own car here to compete. Actually, we talk about the tomorrow and day after we have more professional level competition. And for today, the purpose that we would like to invite more citizens to bring their own cars equipped with that automatic emergency collision avoidance function to join this competition. So for the car owners, it's also a very good opportunity for them to know more about that AEB. Because the ultimate goal, we're doing all these kind of the research development of the self-driving technologies. By the end of the day, we want the consumer to use them, right? So that is also one of the purpose that why we have this kind of a challenge or competition. We talk about today this setting actually so similar as our day-to-day situation on the railroad. So it's also a very good opportunity for DA consumers or car owners know more about that AEB and also provide more insight to the researchers or engineers. So for self-driving technologies, a lot of the consumers still actually at the conceptual level of understanding these terms. So for this kind of competition, actually, we really like consumers to know that their car already equipped with this kind of autonomous function. And right now we see that's the last contestant ready to start the competition. So if the car first reached the required speed, and also the car actually stopped by itself, by AEB, then we will see the judge will coming up to get the distance measured. And we talk about the car actually is in today's competition. It's not just the new car just roll off of the assembly line. Actually, the car already on the road for 1 or 2 years at least. So it's also the very good time for the engineers to understand that the technology or self-driving technology, especially they developed, still deliver that the designed purpose after the car actually in service for around 1 to 2 years. So today we see this AEB, just the tip of the iceberg of the functions brought by self-driving technologies. Right. See, that's maybe right now, judging from this angle, it's a little bit too far. So we talk about if the car stopped outside the range of 0.5 meter to 1.5 meter. Then the car will deduct half points. So we talk about that distance within 0.5 meter to 1.5 meter, then the car can get full score in this item, so in total 20 points. If the car stopped outside this required range, then the point will be just maximum 10 points. So we talk about that a full score for this competition, 100 points. And this morning, a winner of the preliminary contestant got 90 points. And we could see right now the car started a second attempt. So in total, 5 attempts, and score O included, to compete for the championship. So this is the second attempt at the 30 kilometers per hour speed. We could see that judging from this angle, more or less the distance is same as the first attempt. The good thing we can tell is actually this have quite good stability in its performance. But the thing is like maybe it stopped way too early, so the distance may above their 1.5 meters. So the car maybe overreact, which means that the car actually stop itself way too early. But so far, judging from now, the car performed quite well for the first, second, and third attempts. So that's the first attempt at 20 kilometers per hour speed, and the second and third attempts that's at 30 kilometers per hour speed. And right now we should see whether the car still can deliver a stable performance at the farthest speed, which is 40 kilometers per hour speed. So this is very nice. This at 40 kilometers per hour speed. And we talk about that a moving dummy actually is not controlled by hand or is manually controlled. Actually, this is the dummy moving by itself. And we have a system to control the dummy. So we talk about actually for the cars at different speed, and dummy will start to move at a different time frame. We talk about for the previous round, the car not reach the required speed. And we talk about actually for different car brand, the dashboard actually different. Why I say different is that for the driving speed, we talk about that for the last round should be 40 kilometers per hour. And for the dashboard, actually for the car brand, actually they have that buffer zone, which means that you think right now the dashboard actually marks you're right now at 40 kilometers per hour. Actually, that's just around 35, 38. So we talk about if you want to reach 40, then you need to drive at around 43, 45 kilometers per hour. Then you reach that 40 kilometers per hour. So that is why you could see that a lot of drivers or contestants, they not reach the required speed. And because you cannot really strictly follow what your dashboard tell you, because for dashboard, for different car brands, but the same thing is that for car brands, they always that over exaggerates your speed. So which means you're not reach 40, but the dashboard tell you right now you are at 40 kilometers per hour speed. So that is why we ask drivers to drive a little bit faster than what dashboard tells you. So the drivers for different car brands, that's different. But normally the drivers need to drive like 43, 45 kilometers per hour in order to reach the required 40 kilometers per hour speed. Unfortunately, the car still, for the second try, still not reach the required 40 kilometers per hour speed. So till now, all the top 5 contestants finish all their competitions. So we talk about this is a really complex setting. You could see we have a dummy, that's the small keys, and also we have a stopped parking cars here to create a blind spot for the moving car drivers. And this is a really difficult settings to test the AEB function. And that also come to the end of our live streaming. And if you're interested in our competition, please always stay tuned with CGTN New Media. Thank you for watching.